let's begin. As I said before, I'm from Mexico City, and it's an honor being here today, having the opportunity to share some of my forensic work in Mexico. Thank you once again here for being here today. The presentation is called Age at Death Estimation from Kids in Adults because it is related with the results that we have recently published, which from my perspective are relevant as it was a study from a sample obtained from deceased persons coming from different cases that have intervened. One of the key aspects is that all of the sample, in this case canine teeth, comes from unidentified deceased people that were fully identified by scientific means, and the forensic interventions were performed by multidisciplinary teams of forensic specialists. Therefore, the sample in total is from forensic cases and not clinical cases. This is important to mention as we test an age estimation method in a complete forensic sample. The paper was published last June and it's an open access paper. However, if you wish, you can reach me and I can gladly share it with along with other papers related with age estimation. But before we see our results in age estimation, we need to understand what is going on in all Mexican territory. So I will be sharing a little bit of information of missing and unidentified people in Mexico, along with some basic information related with age estimation. Mexico is currently experiencing a situation called a forensic or the forensic crisis, which is a consequence of the beginning of the so-called war against drugs that began in 2006. The government and human rights organizations state that at least over 100,000 people are missing in Mexico. From 2006 to 2021, local and federal authorities discovered at least 4,000 clandestine graves or illegal graves throughout Mexico. Some of the missing may have been killed and buried in these illegal graves made by the police, the military, or criminal organizations. Between 2006 and 2020, at least 50,000 bodies were managed, studied, or intervened by the forensic services without proper identification. Therefore, many of the disappeared have been buried in common graves after the forensic services declare them unidentified or unclaimed. So, what is identity? Identity is a combination of characteristics that define a person as unique. Each individual is distinguished by a set of facial and morphological features, size, racial affinity, sex, clinical history, pathologies, and of course, age. All these elements together, these characteristics enables the recognition of an individual. So, age is part of the identity of a person, in this case, a missing and unidentified person. In practice, state of law recognizes the existence of a person from the moment in which he or she has a legally endorsed name through process that must be complete throughout life, such as legal registers, fingerprints, and identification cards. Nowadays, the issue of identity is the object of study of medical legal science, either when it involves human remains or when living individuals must be identified. Mm, Individualization of people is essential in all legal, administrative, and economic relationships. In the case of deceased people, beyond the legal requirements to establish identity, there are also humanitarian, religious, and cultural reasons that compel people to honor their deceased relatives. The role of human identifications extends beyond merely providing closure to families. It consistently surpasses expectations and should never be dismissed as just another case. The unknown fate of a missing relative impacts the entire family and potential a community. Families persistently search until they exhaust all options and receive definitive information about their loved ones' whereabouts. Many families expect the worst, but mostly they just want to know what happened to finally find closure. The search for missing people, particularly, particularly in migration and post-conflict scenarios, is complex and involves the recovery and identification of remains. It is often uncertain whether the individuals are alive or dead, and in cases of death, their remains may not always be located or returned to their families, with many likely never being found. Nowadays, organized crime greatly complicates the human identification efforts, but not only taking lives, but also by dismembering, burying, and destroying the remains. Uh, in this image, this example illustrates our current challenges: analyzing, identifying, and individualizing bone and dental fragments that have been heavily damaged by heat and extensive fragmentation. While not all cases exhibit these features, it is a common issue that we currently encounter. Uh, it is important to remember, especially in Mexico, that the high number of missing people obstructs to keep following each particular case. Plus, the overwhelming workload, limited police and forensic staff, and their lack of training often lead to delays of results in identifying people who have likely been found but not yet fully identified by scientific means. The Mexican government made an effort to address the national crisis that began almost 20 years ago. So in 2017, the state created the National Search Commission as a Mexican government agency dedicated to search and locate the missing persons. This as a response of the significant national missing people crisis. After this, in 2019, aiming also to address the forensic crisis in human identification, the Mexican state announced the creation of the extraordinary forensic identification mechanism. This initiative was managed by the United Population Fund in order to give independence to the project. Unluckily for the families of the missing and unidentified deceased, the very same Mexican state that established these organizations is now attempting to dissolve them. This move threatens to give back unresolved cases to the forensic agencies that were previously unable to solve. The state underestimated the complexity of the problem, believing it could be resolved quickly and with minimal personnel. In complex forensic cases, not following scientific standards in the implementation, analysis, and interpretation of techniques can lead to serious errors. These could include misidentification, unidentified bodies, incorrect association of commingled body parts, and remains being given to the grown families. This specific point might sound extreme, but believe me, in Mexico, it's not like a common practice, but it has occurred. According to Interpol criteria and other international protocols, under no circumstances can a victim be identified solely through visual recognition. Visual recognition, belongings, medical or anthropological findings are not means of scientific identification. However, they are important to reinforce human identification through scientific methods. We need to remember that the human identification process is precisely that, a process, not a single method. While there are exceptions, I do not believe that it is appropriate for this to become a routine and a definitive practice. We cannot also forget that the human identification process must respect the customs of the host country and perform the rules within the country's guidelines, maintaining professionalism and dignity towards the bodies. It is crucial to always uphold respect toward the bodies, not only in massive disasters, but in any single or multiple event. Respect and dignity towards corpses are fundamental international humanitarian rights. Uh, Now, to address a final comment on this serious topic of missing persons and human identification, I would like to share this quote that goes, despite all efforts, not all missing persons will be found, and those who have been located, not all will be identified. This is a harsh reality, especially in Mexico, which is influenced by two major factors. First, the growing power of organized crime complicates the forensic efforts. And second, the errors and poor practices in forensic services. From my perspective and based on my experience in Mexico, the forensic crisis will continue until we have a government that understands the complexity of the problem, along with the committed to really solve the problem. Now, how does age estimation is related with human identification? Well, age at death estimation remains challenging due to the uncertainty involved in method selection and the challenge of making an optimal decision, especially in criminal cases and mass disaster scenarios, where the bodies or skeletal remains are often commingled or incomplete. However, forensic estimation of age at death faces issues of time and cost. One of the major aims of forensic specialists is to achieve an accurate, non-destructive method of age at death estimation with an acceptable margin of error that narrow the list of missing persons for presumptive identification. Now, let's address the mandatory question. What is the best method to estimate age? If such a method even exists? The answer is not simple and may not be a correct answer. Another question can be, are the methods published by Cameriere the only ones that we should be applied in any context and at any stage of life? And the answer is no. There is no single correct answer to the question. The key is to consider the context in which age estimation is being conducted and to uphold the rights and dignity of the individual, whether they are alive or deceased. It is essential to not rely solely on one method, but to explore several methods that may be applicable to the specific case, depending on the person's stage of life. Now, um, the need for accurate techniques for age estimation has never been greater, primarily due to the current sociopolitical developments. First, there is an increasing number of unidentified bodies, and second, more cases require age estimation for living individuals without valid proof of date of birth. Currently, age estimation has become an issue that must be addressed jointly, scientifically, and humanely. Also, age estimation is increasing regarded as junk science. The misuse of techniques and poorly presented results create significant problems for our field. Additionally, all protocols established before advancements in scientific knowledge and technology have contributed to categorize age estimation as junk science. The improper application of scientific undermines its credibility and creates negative repercussions, emphasizing the need for rigorous scientific practice in age estimation and forensic ontology. In adults, age estimation is more complex because changes are gradual and subtle. However, among all available methods, those based on tooth structure yield better results. Studies on known populations have shown that dental parameters provide more accurate results than those from examining bone parameters. Now, on any given age estimation method must be scientific based. So, first, the method must be transparent and provable with underlying data presented to the scientific community in peer-reviewed journals. Second, clear information concerning the accuracy of age estimation by the method should be available. Then, the method must be accurate enough to solve any underlying questions that any underlying question, and meet specific demands on the case at hand. Finally, in case of age estimation in living individuals, principles of medical ethics and legal regulations have to be considered. Also, in general, you need to be aware of malicious information or disinformation. So now let's get to business. We are going to enter into the results obtained from our study, but first we need to know who is Dr. Roberto Cameriere, the person who developed this age estimation method. Dr. Cameriere is an Italian researcher and head of the age estimation project, but why Cameriere methods are significant and how they shift perspective on age estimation? Well, Cameriere's methods are of particular interest because they are reliable, easy to learn, fast, and cost effective for age estimation. These methods are versatile, are applicable to child, subadults, and adults, and can be used on both living and deceased bodies. Dr. Cameriere is one of today's leading experts in age estimation. His work, much like other important authors, is expected to be influential for generations as one of the most brilliant in age estimation. The age estimation method proposed by Cameriere aims for standardization through the metric analysis of permanent teeth using precise statistical parameters to ensure highly reliable estimates. These methods are being applied in various international forensic contexts to test their reproducibility across populations different from the original ones. Now, let's begin. In 2004, Cameriere introduced a method to estimate chronological age based on the pulp and tooth area ratios in single-rooted teeth, particularly focusing on canine teeth. So this technique aimed to enhance the accuracy and reliability of age estimation. In this initial study, panoramic X-rays were analyzed and the right maxillary canine was chosen for measurements due to its consistent presence and suitability. The study also revealed that gender did not significantly impact the age estimation model. This first model explained 85% of the variation chronological age with a mean error of less than 4 years. Then, the next study from 2006, Cameriere used the same linear regression formula to estimate age in adults previously published in 2004 for living subjects. This 2006 study had the objective to verify if the previous proposed method could also be used in skeletal remains. The result of this study showed high agreement between the estimated age through anthropological methods and the pulp area methods, proving that the equation is effective to estimate the age of death in historical subjects. Now, unlike the previous two studies where the method was tested using panoramic radiographs, in 2007, the method was applied to a contemporary sample, but this time using periapical radiographs of upper and lower canine teeth. This 2007 study was carried out on a sample of 200 periapical radiographs of upper and lower canines. The results in this study provide two linear regression models to estimate age for upper and lower canine. As I mentioned at the beginning, one of the key aspects of our study and results is that all of the sample comes from unidentified deceased people in which we estimate age at death and gave the results as unknown people. Then, months later, we obtain the real age or chronological age when the person was fully identified by scientific means of human identification. Also, the aim of our study was to determine the intra and inter-observer agreement between five forensic persons in blind trials in order to assess whether reliability and reproducibility can significantly reduce errors in estimated the age of a person. But why are canines consistently chosen for examination? Well, in various studies, canines are preferred for several reasons. First, canines are typically present throughout all adult age stages. In my experience, there are the only anterior teeth that are found in every single case. Second, canines are less subject to wear or abrasion compared to other anterior teeth. And also because among single-rooted teeth, canines have the largest pulp chamber and long roots with distinct pulp margins. Due to these characteristics, canines are valuable for assessing age at death. Forensic personnel require precise age estimation techniques for efficiently match missing person information with unidentified deceased persons. Our study aims to evaluate the agreement between five forensic uh, specialists in blind trials, focusing on the reliability and reproducibility of age estimation using the method proposed by Cameriere in adults. Our sample consisted of 96 periapical X-ray images from 18 deceased people recovered from illegal burials with Mexican origin, and 10 deceased migrants from Central America who had been killed in a car crash accident. All of the teeth collected were upper and lower, healthy, unaltered canines with fully formed roots. All subjects were aged between 19 and 49 years at death. From our 28 analyzed cases, 85% had all four permanent canine teeth. This means that in the majority of cases, the deceased individual possess all four canines, which are essential for making age estimation. Therefore, we can confirm that nearly all the deceased had their canines intact. Uh, each canine tooth was carefully extracted without damage, and digital periapical X-rays were taken with the teeth positioned vertical and exposed using the parallelic technique. Cases with open third molar apices, canine with prosthetic restoration, endodontic treatment, significant wear or cavities were excluded from the study. The images were saved in high resolution format, and dental age assessment for each tooth was performed using the pulp and tooth area ratio method published by Cameriere in 2007. To obtain the tooth and pulp outlines and radios, the image processing software was used. The five, the five observers were from four different nationalities: Italian, Russian, Japanese, and of course, Mexican. Each with over 5 years of experience in forensic anthropology or odontology. All observers had experience in performing the age estimation method. The first observer, who collected the data for the entire sample, was aware of the chronological ages, while the other four readers conducted blind age date estimation to assess intra and inter observer reliability. The analysis evaluated both absolute agreement among the five observers and consistency of repeated measurements. Age at death estimates were compared to chronological age via linear regression, and error parameters were calculated with a significance level set at 5%. Four readers showed excellent concordance within their own repeated measurements and between different examiners, with one exception whose consistency was rated as good. These results suggest that the method is highly reliable, as the majority of results are consistent within and across examiners. Both intra and inter concordance levels are predominantly excellent, indicating a strong reliability and consistency in the Cameriere's age estimation method for adults. Our study also demonstrate satisfactory intra and inter-observer agreement based on the good to excellent correlation coefficients, indicating that Cameriere's age estimation method can be confidently reproduced both by the same evaluator and at different times and by different evaluators. When comparing the accuracy of age estimation, upper right canine provide a better result, a better determination coefficient than the lower right canine. This means that upper canines were more accurate in estimating age compared to the lower canines. Overall, the findings validate the method's reproducibility and accuracy, especially with upper canines. Radiology has proven being has proven being invaluable for postmortem age estimation in victim identification, particularly within forensic odontology. Several techniques have been developed to estimate chronological age based on the relation between age and morphological changes in the teeth, especially changes in pulp and tooth area ratios. However, relying on a single tooth for age assessment can introduce errors. So, for accurate results in forensic context, it is essential to analyze as many teeth as possible. In this case, we suggest that at least two canines being necessary to apply Cameriere's age estimation method. In our study, All four canines from the deceased individuals were analyzed. The original linear regression model published by Camerier in 2007 for upper and lower teeth was applied to the entire sample without modifications. One of our objectives was to follow international best practices by validating the method and results with at least a second observer. This approach emphasized the importance of both intra and inter reliability in ensuring accurate and consistent outcomes. A critical challenge in forensic age estimation is interpreting results, as different methods often give different outcomes. Providing a single result for legal purposes can be challenging due to the potential for error across techniques. Our approach consolidates forensic practices by averaging results from the four canine teeth of the same person with the specific standard deviation calculated for this method. Uh, we also found some limitations, which are compared with third molars, canines are more susceptible to external factors such as dental wear, trauma, and frequent chewing on one side. Another limitation is that the forensic odontologist must be highly skilled to accurately mark precise points of pulp and tooth outlines for calculate the areas. To ensure reliable age estimation, at least two canines should be evaluated. For optimal results, dental X-ray should be taken with the tooth outside the dental socket using digital sensor and enhanced with image processing tools to improve visibility. Cameriere's pulp-tooth method is less subject to bias or subjectivity, as it is a quantitative method that allows the sharing of digital X-rays with experienced observers worldwide, enabling accurate and precise estimation as long as the sample is properly obtained and processed using the correct methodology. Best practices in human identification, including age assessment, dictate that the final decision on any dental identification or age estimation should be made by a team of at least two dentists. Our results indicate that the method on the study can be confidently reproduced by the same reader as well as different evaluators in different times, ensuring reliable outcomes. Currently, Mexico lacks of validated dental age estimation method for contemporary forensic cases. Therefore, our results are highly relevant for further research as they provide an opportunity to test and verify a method that doesn't rely on a complex or expensive equipment. I would like to mention that Mexico also lacks of protocols for interventions that require age assessments in either living or deceased persons. Therefore, it is important to validate age estimation methods that have sufficient scientific support and that can be applied to contemporary forensic samples. And thus, we conclude one of the age estimation method published by Dr. Roberto Cameriere. This method has been extensively applied and studied across different populations to ensure the reproducibility and the reliability. The original formulas have not required significant adjustments, underscoring the versatility for application across diverse contexts. Personally, I have found Cameriere's age estimation methods to yield the most reliable results, and I advocate for the adoption of these methods, which should be standard practice given their proven precision and non-destructive nature. Moreover, their simplicity of application requiring only a single X-ray underscore the potential utility. Thank you for your kind attention, and please visit our social media in which we constantly are uploading our events on age estimation. Thank you for your kind patience and attention.